Big guns, Narban already coming out. Of course, AHQ very aware of what Yang did to EDG. Karma taken off the board as well as westdoor's TF. No surprises there. The only ban, or one of the few bans that remains consistent against AHQ, regardless of what meta we are in. Tom Kench coming out as well, that has been banned against AHQ in every single game they've played so far. Syndra to follow up. Last ban here, guys. Do you think we are going to see a Rumble ban? Do you think it's worth taking off the table, or are we just going to have that Rumble Kennen matchup?
I think they should ban something like Nidalee or Olaf.
Yeah.
So basically the jungle ban. And here we just need to see if one of the junglers plays Nidalee or not, and how much priority they put on that. I just don't think that Rumble is like first pick worthy.
Yeah.
So probably it's gonna be Nidalee, yeah.
Yeah, 100% pick ban right now for Nidalee, 100% presence throughout all of Worlds. There hasn't been a game where she slipped through the cracks and wasn't picked first or very early on in the rotation. But iNTZ, yeah, I think he'll probably actually play the Lee Sin into the Nidalee.
Yeah, it's either Lee Sin or Elise. Both do quite well against Nidalee. It's all about like, you need to put up pressure, and then if Nidalee starts farming for free, then yeah, you can have a problem. But if she doesn't, or you get put up pressure, then she has to, like, if you can slow down her farm basically, then she's not as effective.
What do you think about a Rek'Sai instead? Because it's still left up.
I think Rek'Sai actually has a bad matchup against Nidalee, because she just like farms faster than you, and then she puts up pressure, and then you can't 1v1 fight her, compared to something like Lee Sin, where he can actually like jump you and kill you 1v1.
Interesting spot to be. Revolta really taking his time here on these picks.
Yeah, speaking of killing 1v1.
We may also see a mid lane pick locked in here. I'm not going to say it till it happens.
Yeah, I do think that the Cassiopeia gets locked in here because AHQ banned the Syndra, so the counter to Cassiopeia, one of the main ones, is taken away. So I think it's a really safe pick up there. But also AHQ kind of showed and tilted their hand here for the rest of the tournament that westdoor doesn't play Syndra.
Interesting, of course, that Syndra has been one of those big power picks at the top of the presence table, right behind Nidalee. 94% presence so far, of course, going up this game as the Syndra has been banned away. But with Cassio now on the table, the last remaining kind of top-tier mid laner, Vladimir, we've seen an unfortunate mid lane matchup a few times in the NA playoffs.
So we said the last top-tier mid laner, Aurelion Sol's back.
Oh,
do have to remember that. Still back in.
I think there is a chance teams will actually forget about it. Like,
That's true,
I'm pretty sure that teams sometimes can not take it in consideration. But yeah, Aurelion Sol is there and Malzahar is there, so there is a huge chance of one of those.
Yeah, you probably actually scrimmed the last 2 days without it.
True. And we have to assume, we don't know exactly when the teams were notified when Aurelion Sol was made available, so they may have made their strategies for this game before knowing it was there. May just look to stick to those now. But AHQ, no presence in the top lane yet. It seems like both teams are kind of holding off on locking this pick. iNTZ with the red side will have the opportunity to counter pick top lane if they really want to. But now Alistar and Sivir coming in for the second rotation here.
Yeah, I'm still not sure what is the counter pick for Kennen for the top lane, because everyone tends to pick Rumble, but then when people pick Rumble, they still pick Kennen against it. So it's like, it's probably just like kind of similar matchup. And as for the mid lane for AHQ, I wonder if Chawi plays Syndra, because they can, for example, ban Syndra for the westdoor, but then they can leave it open in first pick when they have Chawi in the lineup.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Would be an interesting pivot as they move forward, trying to use those subs to kind of change up the relative champion pools.
Yeah, I don't know how much we would actually see that, because Chawi hadn't been seeing much play during the regular split, and if they're actually splitting scrim time during Worlds against top teams when they can get those scrims, don't know how much that's actually going to work out for them. But westdoor has always been very slow to adapt. He's always had a very shallow champion pool. It's been a criticism for a long time. He's added Malzahar to it, but it still makes him very predictable right now. That Malzahar, Lissandra, Twisted Fate, he dropped Fizz. So it's kind of easy to see what's going to come from him.
And Revolta picks his Lee Sin that he was known for, Brazil region. Lee Sin was out of meta for a while, but now it's meta, so he finally can try to show up.
I'm happy that it's meta again. I love seeing Lee Sin plays when a good player picks that thing up. I did actually want to touch on another thing here for the top lane. You were talking about the Kennen, like what plays really well into it. From my experience playing Kennen, the two things that really mess me up in lane are Aurelia and Yasuo, because he's constantly on top of you, and Kennen, once you blow your E, there's this large window, about like 12 seconds, where they can just keep actually just hitting you, and they do way more damage than you do in a close quarters. And you never get to the point, because they build a bit tanky, that you can 1v1 them.
Yeah, I think Aurelia is actually pretty good. But then again, it comes down to how much you want to camp that lane and how much you want to invest in it.
Yeah, Jayce is actually pretty good too. As soon as he goes hammer form, like his Q is the same distance as which your auto attack range is for Kennen. So you can't farm when he's sitting in hammer form, or else he just gets a combo on you and knocks you back and then runs away. It's kind of frustrating to play against as a Jayce.
Yeah, it looks
Or
like the
as a
Jayce will
Kennen,
be
sorry.
locked in, most likely going into the top lane, short of any top lane Malzahar. Been a long time since we've seen a top lane Malzahar, but Jayce, one of those picks we speculated to be insanely strong in the tournament. Hasn't seen too much success quite yet. Wasn't, you know, it's been a little bit back and forth in terms of teams picking it up. G2, I think, the first to bring it out and having a really rough game with it overall. But now, looking forward, of course, going to see if iNTZ want to go for the Kled here. I kind of doubt it. What do you think is the good pick here? Do you think they are just going to go for the Kennen, take that risky matchup?
Well, actually, Kled, from what I was reading online, is like the #1 counter to Jayce, apparently, in solo queue.
Yeah.
I don't know how much I actually buy that, but it's probably going to be the Kennen here because it would just be such a great combination.
Yeah,
you have so much engage.
Rumble is just too risky. Basically, the problem of Rumble is if you fall behind and he just like keeps pushing you, and then you have to even invest your ultimate into pushing out the lane, and the kill pressure on Jayce, if he goes Storm Raider Surge with Rumble, is really, really low. So you'd rather have Kennen. So if Jayce starts pressuring, like if he goes under your turret, which Jayce usually does and against Rumble, and he can do it against Kennen, Kennen actually has a lot of kill pressure on that.
Interesting setups as well. Now, we talked a lot about the potential influence of junglers on this matchup. So if we look at the 2v2, if it does come to that on the top side of the map, is it AHQ or iNTZ that have the edge?
I think it ends up skill shot dependent. Like whoever lands more skill shots actually wins that, because Jayce could like actually miss an EQ combo or Nidalee misses a spear. Like you'll probably lose to the Kennen and the Lee Sin, but if Lee Sin like misses a Q, it's basically skill shots in my opinion.
I think for iNTZ it's slightly easier to execute because
you
like
hit
Kennen can hit a stun, and then after that it's 100% hit skill shot. So it just will depend. AHQ can actually hit the skills, and then after that it just depends. I guess because mid lane has a pressure from iNTZ for huge part of the game, he can actually influence this jungle matchup. So like if Lee Sin and Cassiopeia get ahead, then eventually they can help like their top lane a lot.
Going to be interesting to see exactly how it unfolds. Of course, I'm really excited to see how the early levels go. We didn't get as many top lane focus streams early in the week as you mentioned, but this is going to be exciting just to see how these guys stack up in terms of an individual mechanical level, because as excited as we get about talking about these matches, sometimes someone just outplays or knows the matchup better, and that's going to be curious to see. But if you have any specific questions about TP plays, top laners, or anything, Alex, Irene, and I will be happy to deliver some knowledge live on air. Just send your questions in via Twitter using the hashtag AskTheCasters, and we'll get to them as we get in the game. And here we are in game. Longsword 3 pots versus the Doran's Blade on the Kennen. What's the difference between these two starts?
One of them gets you a little bit faster towards your serrated Dirk in lane, and that's the build that Jayces go for now. They usually don't go tier anymore. You go straight for Youmuu's Ghostblade. Whereas the Kennen, it's something that Kennens do for the laning phase is you get the Doran's Blade, you end up going for hybrid penetration most of the time, and since you go down to Thunderlords, you get even more. So physical attacks are very important for the Kennen lane phase.
Of course, going in.
And as for Jayce, he can also go for Hex Drinker starting from the longsword, which will counter a lot of Kennen's kit and will actually give you the winning 1v1 matchup, which is really good. But he has a Lee Sin, so if the stun lands and Lee Sin is there, Lee Sin will still one-shot him after level 6. But overall, Hex Drinker is really good item here because they have double magic matchup.
Seems like a solid spot to be. Decent magic damage coming in from the jungle. Both teams are actually reasonably well divided in terms of damage output, although it does feel like iNTZ are pretty heavily reliant on the magic damage overall. Now, one of the big concerns that I have for this top lane, Kennen we've seen just be a monster in these late game fights. Show up from a flank and, in the case of Smeb, single-handedly win a team fight. Jayce, is that the same story? What is Jayce's impact as we get further into the game?
Jayce is a poke bot, usually for sieging. He can take turrets very quickly. He's one of the best top laners at doing so once he reaches the turret. And that's kind of his job. That or he blows somebody up if he gets access to them. But it will be kind of difficult to actually get access to the backline of iNTZ as a Jayce. He will have the Sivir to help.
I still feel that most of the teams who play Jayce, they did it not really that good.
Yeah.
Because like, in reality, what you do is Jayce, you like ensure his split push, and then he's like super strong. And then you either group with team, eventually, where you just a poke bot, or you just keep split pushing all game. Instead, what teams were doing, they were like trying to split push, but then they're like tipping in team fight like he's a team fight carry, and he just gets blown up. So basically, you need to be either with the team already, or you need to just stay in lane and don't care, like play Aurelia style.
Thus far, ZIV looking like he has a little bit of the edge, does get the Thunderlord's proc down.
Yeah.
Technically missed the CS, but Yang looks like he did as well, so.
Yeah, so he actually missed the CS. He could have gotten that CS with a Q, but what he did is he saved the Q for the next time, and that's how he got that big chunk on Yang. So missing that CS actually gave him like 100 more damage on the enemy, so I think it's definitely worth it, especially since you have a potion discrepancy with the longsword 3 pots versus the Doran's Blade.
It's interesting that he goes Thunderlords because there are still like 2 ways of Jayce right now. Some people prefer going Storm Raider Surge. So basically, when you do like huge Q, you get the Storm Raiders proc. So you can either use it to run away or like go in. Or when you jump on an enemy, you get a huge chunk and then you just run away with the Storm Raider Surge proc. But instead, he opts for more damage.
So while we're keeping focus up here, we talked a little bit about the junglers, and it looks like they're actually fighting it out for control on the bottom side of the map. So these guys are kind of left in a vacuum right now to continue farming. You can see a little bit of that action unfolding. And it looks right now, at least at this point, at the level 3 mark, that Yang appears to have control of the lane. He is starting to push in. Is there a break point here where ZIV can just start to look to all in the Kennen?
Well, he can't do that right now because the wave is so big. He can just poke him down, get to a point where, you know, it would be okay to jump in, but now he's in the Q form. You have to be a little bit more careful as Yang. He just jumps on the back line to try and get some wave clear down.
Yeah, right now it's just like Yang has a free way to push the lane like that because he knew where the jungler was. But at this point, he knows that Nidalee can already rotate to the top side, so he should be careful. He wards the river, but he doesn't expect Mountain to be in his jungle. And that's the strengths of the Nidalee. Basically, when they were trying to invade her, she just cleared it too fast. And right now, she's already in their jungle. But as we see, Yang expects it, so he's playing really, really safe.
And this is a good ward from ZIV because it's the Jayce ward where you can constantly poke over and over again and figure out where the Kennen is. So if this wave shoves all the way up to the turret and then eventually it bounces back, like ZIV can hang out in one of these brushes to the top or the bottom and then just shoot Kennen from the middle of the lane.
This is something that we saw, of course, in the Varus lane earlier as well. It seems to be a trend for these long-range poke champs and that vision, letting them know where to throw those skill shots, not having to just fire them blind. You can see how irritating it is for Yang. And Yang giving a lot of respect here over to Mountain. Of course, Mountain was spotted on the ward, so Yang now does feel a little bit safer, but overall just willing to give up that lane pressure in fear of the coming Nidalee gang.
Well, right now, it's just like, if you die here, you lose too much, so he just plays safe and waits till the wave comes to his tower. Because there is not a huge dive opportunity, and even though they're could be going for the dive, Revolta is there already to counter it.
It's actually really good. What you should do if you're Yang is E and then flash on top of him, or actually walk up. Yeah, he's gonna let him do it. All right.
Massive creep wave though, they're fighting in it now. Yang is very low. ZIV maybe looking to get a little bit more. The Spark of the Storm has fallen off. Waiting for it. Turns.
Oh.
This is highly risky.
He's got a W.
Yang flashes in. There's the stun. Comes in. Malzahar from nowhere, and that's first blood. Gentlemen, I'm sorry. I could not resist play-by-playing that, but just an insane turn of events. We talked about the ZIV stream, and it looks like westdoor in the end, the one that decides that play.
Yeah, that's always been westdoor's strength as well, is not so much laning, but having good timing on his roams. And right there, I feel like ZIV did way too much damage to Yang early on that Yang had to just ditch. And it may have just been the timing thing, because he tried to trade, he tried to go in for the all-in when there's so many minions around. Like, look at that. His minions will die. Yang will take full aggro here from those minions. And now he's just taking so much damage on top of it. He eats a Q at the same time. There's so many caster minions. Like, that's actually a bad timing for the gank.
Yeah, you just don't gank this lane. You just come there to counter the dive. And you either gank if Jayce just feels so confident that he stays there when it hits the tower. Or you just like, whatever, you protected the dive, you just go back to farming. And this is like super greedy from iNTZ.
Well, and to me earlier, Alex, you mentioned that with that massive wave, all Yang needed to do was play back. If anything would go wrong, that he would lose so much. And you can see that not only did he die, but he's now at a 10 CS discrepancy. So this seems like a devastating first play.
Yeah, also ZIV gets his Hex Drinker, so Yang cannot really fight him that much anymore. Like here he wins the trade because like ZIV didn't hit his EQ, but if one EQ hits, Yang basically gets to like less than half HP.
Yeah, and he was doing that because Mountain's here. And now there's no flash on this, so you have to take that spear. You're pretty much dead.
Ooh, nice first gank coming in, or second gank, I should say. That's 2 kills over to AHQ already, and it looks like very aware that they need to focus on the top side.
This is what you need to do to Kennen. Every time that I play Kennen, if you get ganked, you're so far behind in tempo, not just against the other main top laner, but against the entire game. So when you're slicing Maelstrom mid-game, you're only for the stun. You're pretty much a support Kennen. It feels bad, man. But this is exactly what you need to do. The Jayce is a good counter to the Kennen, a lot of that physical damage, and then as the Kennen, you're like, okay, do I get Proto Belt first for wave clear? Now I have to go for Seeker's Arm Guard to at least survive the matchup, and you just feel really far behind.
Yeah,
It's interesting that you bring that up. I want to jump on to one clear question real quick. At John99867_ asks, is Proto Belt really such a mandatory item to rush for Kennen? Wouldn't Zhonya rush be much better for laning in team fights?
So basically, in this lane, you probably still want a Proto Belt. I would say Russian Seeker's Arm Guard is good for the stats because the item is really, really cost effective. But as of rushing Zhonya's, most of the time you won't be able to reach the good place in the team fight, first, and second, you won't have enough damage with Zhonya's to actually have an impact. When you're so far behind, then maybe Zhonya's would have made sense because you're just like the stun bot and you just need to win time for your team, which Zhonya's helps to do. But in most of cases, if you're equal, then Seeker's Arm Guard into Proto Belt will be the best build.
Yeah, Proto Belt is just such a good item on Kennen. That's really...
That was nice. But I don't know if they're
still gonna get him.
Excellent engage there.
But iNTZ have actually been doing a really damn good job of using the pressure that AHQ has been allocating. They got that bottom turret because we saw westdoor go top, we saw the mountain gank on top lane, so Yang has died twice, but in return, it's first turret for iNTZ on the bottom side. So they actually just sacked this lane after that first Lee Sin gank, and then Revolta just went down bottom. He just got a kill onto mountain, has complete pressure here. But yeah, to complete the Proto Belt point, Kennen's wave clear sucks, so he's always underneath turret. Proto Belt helps you with that wave clear deficit. That or maxing W first.
Interesting, of course, now you can see Yang doing his best, as you mentioned, stuck permanently under turret. But I want to take this opportunity. We'll just keep the Twitter questions going as we kind of have a brief pause here. At Nada2P, we'll see if that was pronounced correctly. Who do you think is the queen of the jungle right now? Is it Elise or Nidalee? Nidalee did make it through the pick spans this time, and Mountain has had some early success. So just as an aside to the top lane stream, what are your guys' thoughts on the jungle meta?
Where's my Rek'Sai at? She's a queen too?
I mean, it's 100% Nidalee. Like, there is no way Elise can keep up in terms of speed. Elise is a good matchup against Nidalee because, like, it's hard to invade and you can get one shot. But other than that, Nidalee has a pace. If you ever fall behind against Nidalee, there is no roadway to you in the jungle. She will just get, like, 4 levels ahead of you and just, like, murder you, your jungle, and your teammates. So it's like, just like, if a good player plays on Nidalee, it's really hard to play against it.
Yeah, and the Nidalee will be able to carry the game, but I will say that, you know, your queen can still be subjective. If you really prefer the style of ganking, Elise is really good for tower dives.
Oh, there's
way better than everybody else.
Kick back.
Nice kick.
Does get the tower aggro in the end. Nice.
So yeah, Elise is still up there, but it just depends on your style.
Yeah, well, thank you, gentlemen, for, as a mid laner, answering on our top lane stream, answering our question about the jungle.
Yes. he used to play top for a bit.
I mean, it's true. But I want to talk a little bit, that just feels like good coordination coming in for iNTZ, but it's a similar story now as it was earlier. iNTZ collapsed on the top side. Now it's AHQ taking something on the bottom side of the map. But with the Seeker's Arm Guard now finished, despite the CS difference, who has the advantage in this lane in terms of one-on-one?
It's still Jayce. Like, Jayce will have advantage, I don't know, forever in this lane. Whenever you, like, get a Hex Drinker, that item is just, like, so cost-effective against magic damage, especially against burst damage like Kennen. Until Kennen makes a huge outplay, he'll probably, like, be stronger most of the time.
Yeah, also, Jayce's pattern is just really good against Kennen. You can poke and stay out of Kennen's ranges, his initiation, and then you can choose and pick and choose which initiation you actually want to take, when you want to take an all-in. And even if Kennen does R and run onto you, you still have your E to actually dodge 1 or 2 of the charges of the lightning, of the slicing maelstrom.
Yeah, the thing is, Kennen in this team comp is not for the, like, laning phase. I mean, he could have got a good lane, but they got greedy, and after that it went really bad. So now he's a lot about, like, Ashe, Bard initiation into the Kennen ultimate, into Katsu Miasma and ultimate, and just straight away damage. So until, like, they fall too far behind, then in team fights he should have shined.
Yang has no ult.
Yeah, that's not actually a turret.
No ult still, waiting on the timer. I think it's pretty far away at this stage. I think he's gonna get it. Bard ult, not gonna save him. Nice shot from ZIV though. Volta. Oh no. Kick. Mountain. Kick. Minion aggro.
No.
Not going to get it.
8
heal.
8 life.
Not going to be it. That is disastrous. This. A little bit more damage coming in from tockers. iNTZ feel like they're so close to pulling off these plays, but they're just a little bit off every time.
Yeah. And I think it's a good idea from AHQ to focus this lane because it is your winning lane. It's your lane that's so far ahead in CS. He has 150% of the Kennen CS right now. And it's also the counter matchup. Like, you were talking about how it's picked for the composition with the Kennen. Like, the Jayce, they picked themselves into a counter matchup, and AHQ are definitely abusing that.
Yeah. I think the the problem is they just like greed it out. And if Jayce gets ahead, it's like if Aurelia gets ahead, then it just becomes a pain train.
You can't walk into lane. It feels awful.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Action across the map. westdoor. So many people count him out, but if you start giving westdoor kills, he is just as terrifying as anyone else.
And caught up in CS too.
I mean, the problem is like iNTZ died one side, and that snowballs all the sides. Because like they die top, their support has to go top. Meanwhile, AD carry is left alone, and it's Ashe. He just gets caught, and they just like they need to slow it down and start like looking for what they did before when they're behind, looking for the vision, looking for picks, instead of trying to go for the desperate plays, where they just like try to kill that Jayce or Nidalee, like Lee Sin goes for the hero play and then he just dies. If they will stop doing that and will try to go for actual like vision control on plays and just like at least defend what they got, then they can probably pull it back.
Yeah, and this is really cool right here. You see everybody on AHQs on the bottom side, so ZIV uses EQ to clear the caster minions out on the wave and then jumps out, kills the minion wave and backs up. Even though like Kennen has a very long lane, he has an advantage, maybe he could chase the Kennen down. ZIV knows that his job is just to live right now and not to actually stand near that turret, near anybody else, because the bottom lane's going to get that tier 2. A lot of top laners greed.
And this is what it's called the lateral play, where the top laner, he just like understands that at top lane he can die and he just rotates mid lane, while his 4 people were taking the bot lane. So he still gets the farm and covers the lane, while like his teammates are getting the advantage somewhere else.
I like it.
Yeah. This is just getting so difficult. If you look across the board, there's just so much of an advantage present for AHQ. 5k gold just about, and as well as the Infernal Drake. Things look pretty grim, but once again, we talked about the potential for the team fight Wombo combo if they can get the setup. iNTZ at this point, though, feel pretty relegated just to farming up here. Is there an item breakpoint that we can wait for when iNTZ can really start to look for engages?
I would say they should wait for level 11 from Kennen and Protobelt. I think that's their best point to shine. Because I think at level 6 ultimate, he just won't have enough damage and impact in the team fight at this point of the game.
Protobelt's a large part of your damage, too, in the combo. Also helps you get in, doesn't make you as flash reliant. But this, ooh.
Mountain 1v1ing on the side, looks like he may get taken down.
Yeah, I think Mountain's dead.
Bard gets the save. Ooh. Mountain ticking. That's a lot of confidence there. Arrow!
That was close.
Very close.
So basically what happened in this game like early on, because like that snowballed super hard. Basically westdoor was like 20 CS behind and tockers was doing super well.
Oh, a little more.
He doesn't have enough mana.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that point, tockers was doing really well, but westdoor got back, he got a kill, like random kill, and after that he stabilized in lane. And because of that, if Malzahar can get through that stage before level 6 where he's actually pretty weak, he can just like do a lot of things with his ultimates. That's what basically westdoor is doing. And now after he will get Morellas, it will be really hard for iNTZ to team fight.
Looking pretty rough. Does throw down the miasma. Looks like they will clear this wave. And this is what you were talking about. Hold them down, knock them out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, Malzahar pick is really good if you have a jungler like Nidalee.
Nidalee, Graves, like all these huge damage dealers.
Yeah, something that can like just one-shot, like Elise. Something with a lot of damage. Lee Sin too. Basically not a Olaf or something like, not a run down you with a lot of tankiness champion.
So looking at this, at 223D Lee, Daniel Lee asks, is there anything AHQ can do when Kennen Flash Protobelt engages? What do they have in terms of counterplay if iNTZ ever do find that engage?
So you Jayce E or you headbutt with Alistar out. Like there's actually really good team composition. If you see him start coming in, westdoor can use ultimate if he times his ultimate before the Kennen ultimate goes off. You keep him at a range and then you just kind of keep him there and kill him. Or if he gets in, then you have some disengage. I would actually prefer that the Alistar does the headbutt out because Jayce swapping forms is about 6-second cooldown and it puts him in a really bad position from that point on.
Also, they have an exhaust and
they
have a Malzahar silence that can hit Kennen and that will be pretty useless.
Yeah. I'm actually really upset when teams don't take exhaust against Kennen because it's just such a devastating ability just from base damages that you have to run that. It's really sad when like Mato was playing Nami with Ignite against it. It's like
he's just manly enough to win the lane 2v2.
Yeah, you'd have to get something out of the Ignite, right?
Well, it's a similar story, once again, not to just continuously draw attention to that Smed play, but a lot of the reason that Smed was able to leap into the backline and that so far Worlds highlight, I think we can say, is because we did see Mithy burn the exhaust on the Nocturne.
Right before, yep.
Exactly.
That's the cue.
That's your setup. Kennen is very terrifying, has hit that level 11 point that you mentioned earlier, Alex. Does have the proto belt now as well, but honestly, it's just a massive deficit for iNTZ at this point.
Well, right now they should just get a good vision around the mid lane, because probably AHQ will try to push up mid lane with the poke, and then Kennen just need to get a good TP in.
Yeah, he has the proto belt now. He has level 11, so he's at those 2 points, and he has his flash up as well. So this would actually be a good turning point for iNTZ if they can find the fight.
Yeah, it's getting pretty hard. They're getting chunked before they can get anything. This is the problem when you play against Nidalee and Jayce, and they're so far ahead, they have vision control. You either get one spear or you get one Jayce EQ and you cannot fight anymore. It's like the same against Varus, except these champions are less squishy and less tended to die, I would say. It's like much easier with them to survive than Varus.
Yeah, everybody knows that feeling where you're like, all right, let's group up for a team fight, and then somebody's like, hold on, I need you back to go buy. And then as soon as he comes back, somebody else is like, oh, I just hit another item, and he backs and buys. Like, everybody knows that from solo queue. It's kind of like that, except the enemy team is forcing you to do that with backs. And that's
it's kind of like that, except you're taking half your health every time you step up to try to fight.
But people are having to back, so you're 5v4 on the map constantly, and that's the goal of the poke composition, is to create advantageous situations before a fight, so that the fight is just something you don't want to take. Like right now, micaO, he might have to back off and give up this turret rather early on. Another Jayce EQ in about 5 seconds could kill him if he keeps walking up. So yeah.
There goes the engage. Albis maybe looking to knock him back to the team.
That's the headbutt though.
Knock the Kennen out. There's the miasma.
Yeah.
Here comes the arrow.
If I'm Yang, I actually rush in. Flash.
Ult.
Proto.
Does have proto belt. Goes in. There's the exhaust you talked about, however.
Yeah.
They do get one in the end, but they trade it for the tower.
And there was Jayce knockout, so Jayce knocked him out, and they only could get an Alistar kill. They actually expended a lot for that Alistar kill, so I wouldn't say it's even worth it, because Kennen doesn't have flash anymore. It will be really hard for him to get the next engage, and even though Alistar used exhaust, I don't think it matters much.
Yeah, and that's one of the best things about having the Zhonya's Hourglass, is you can avoid the exhaust if you're fast enough. So then it puts more pressure on top of the Alistar and the Jayce to get you out of the fight or get the exhaust down before you actually pop your Zhonyas.
This is, of course, the fight we were talking about. You can see micaO is just so low, and Albis, interestingly enough, just decides to kick the Kennen out.
Yeah, and that's the headbutt there, so he just wanted him away. Has to walk behind the turret as well, so easy arrow. westdoor burns the ghost, then he gets knocked out, so yeah, really well played there from the rest of AHQ. Keep the Kennen away.
And this is the problem, like Kennen needs to come from behind in this kind of fights. But they're so far behind and they want to stall it out as iNTZ. I think even though they're so far behind, they have, with their comp, they have to force fights. Like, I don't think they can stall it out or like wave clear or anything against the poke comp. I think you just have to take it, like 6k disadvantage no matter what, just like go and fight. And just like at this point, I don't think it will get any better for them.
Yeah, if iNTZ win, it'll probably be like a 40-minute game at minimum, in my opinion, because they have to start making plays like right now to start getting themselves back in. It's a 7k disadvantage, but they have to wait until, you know, Kennen is 2 items, 3 items. Cassiopeia's power spike early on was delayed because of QSS, first item before anything else was completed. So they're still waiting on a lot of power spikes on iNTZ's side. So they just have to kind of play it safe, but try to make plays when they see the opportunity. It's like it's a kind of a weird balance right now.
Definitely a significant deficit. It looks like AHQ are the ones trying to make plays, although iNTZ are backing off here.
Yeah, it's like in Malzahar against Cassio, or I would say Cassio against Malzahar, you can get QSS, and this is why Cassio is good, because like QSS is actually a good fitting item for her, but at the same time, it slows down your advantage. So basically, Malzahar, if you don't get ahead of Malzahar, which he was early on, then yeah, QSS is a burden, because it basically like downs your damage while not giving you much back, and it doesn't give you much magic resistance too to fight Malzahar. So like, if you're like 20 CS ahead, then QSS is a good item, but in equal or behind situation, QSS is worse in terms of damage.
And he was ahead in CS, like you said, so he went for it, and then westdoor just got kills, and now he's getting farm as well. So, well, that advantage is pretty much gone at this point.
It's a scary spot to be. I do want to shift our attention back to the top lane briefly. We've talked a lot about itemization here. I want to look at ZIV's itemization in particular. Tier no longer a thing for Jayce. Muramana no longer a part of the build. It's just all in on the AD, and I want to know why we are seeing this build come out.
People don't go for that the mana anymore. The tier takes too long to actually stack up. And Jayce, with the 6 ranking in his abilities, like, it's all about getting that armor penetration. It's just like the Jhin builds and stuff like that, where you stack it up. Getting cooldown reduction as well early on is very important. So you see him get the boots, you see him get the Yomus, and I think he's going to go for Death's Dance next. but it's all about just having really hard-hitting Qs during the mid-game so that you actually play into that poke pattern. Because the Muramana, like you don't always use all the mana on it, and also you don't always use the auto attack on it too, because your poke pattern doesn't actually apply it. It's when you're in close quarters that actually matters, but it takes too long to get there.
Also, just like the power spikes of Jayce are so strong that the tier slows it down, and even though the item is not that expensive, it still like slows down you a lot. It also takes an item slot that you could have used for something else, and you don't really want to finish up the mana immune because you need the CDR or Black Cleaver armor penetration if you're against tank. Or
that might be
like,
what he's going for too, yeah, you're right.
Or like Hex Drinker. So basically, also you have a meditation mastery that gives you mana back, and everyone goes for it over the Dangerous game right now, so they go like 5 points in meditation, or at least couple points.
Yeah.
And also you have a chance of getting the Ocean Dragon, and usually with Jayce, he's such a like strong point in the game, in the mid game, that you have a huge chance of getting the dragon on your side. So if there would be one Ocean Dragon, it probably will cover up your mana problems for the rest of the game.
Yeah, and you're right, it's probably the Black Cleaver, it's not the Death Stance. I don't know why I thought that, because I saw the Varus with the Death Stance yesterday.
Yeah, we're getting a little hypey
like,
on the Death Stance. This is not one of my
want
solo
them all the
queue
time.
games.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a Phage next item as well.
Yeah, it will be really good to shred through that Kennen. Kennen, of course, has gotten the Zhonya's. But looking at Kennen itemization, we have a question coming in from @AndrewRocks20, who has a little bit of a spicy brew for us. He says, what do you think about Ionian Boots on Kennen for a shorter flash cooldown and Luden's Echo for movement speed? Zyrene, you already sound unhappy, but why don't we talk about both these items separately? Ionian Boots on Kennen, what are your thoughts?
I don't like Ionian Boots on Kennen because you get so much CDR from other sources, like Abyssal Scepters, Zhonya's, and Protobell all have it. The Summoner spell cooldown for like TP plays, I can see it, and I know that High does it usually on mid lane because he's such a playmaker, but I feel like that 15 extra magic penetration is just worth so much when your goal is to lock down an AD carry and mid laner and blow them up. So I personally like Sorc Shoes way better than Ionian Boots Lucidity, but I can see Ionian Boots being like, hey, I think it's cheaper right now, so it's like a faster power spike.
Yeah, I think Ionian Boots is more of like engage kind of tool. So if you want to, instead of blowing up everyone, you want to do more engages and you have enough damage on your team, I can see it working. But most of the problem is like Kennen cannot even use his cooldown reduction that effectively because he's energy gated, which is kind of the same problem that Shen has in the team fights. So you basically are getting the item mostly for the cooldown of summoners, and because Kennen also goes for the magic penetration usually because it's much more effective than AP, it makes the synergy of the build much worse.
Quick pick coming in there. And then Luden's Echo, how much is that movement speed worth? Do you think this item is worth it? Is there just better alternatives?
There's just better alternatives. Like, if you think about Kennen's 6-item builds, you have one slot that I consider, like, most of its core, right? Like, Protobelt, Zhonya's Hourglass, you have your boots. Then, from there, it's like you're going to want a Void Staff. And then you have kind of 2 slots, I guess, which are up in the air. And at that point, it's like Death Cap, Rylai's Crystal Scepter, Abyssal Scepter, and then Luden's Echo. I put Luden's Echo 4th out of those items because I feel like a Death Cap if you're snowballing, you get a Rylai's Crystal Scepter if you are one of those people who really likes the teamfight utility. I personally highly value Rylai's because I'm a W first maxer, so when you hit like level 13 and you have it, or level 10, stuff like that, like you are just constantly slowing the person over and over again. But Luden's Echo, the movement speed, I don't think it's that important.
Well, ZIV overstaying is welcome there,
Nice.
just to catch everyone up. Of course, there's just a massive bloodbath going on, and it's getting a little sloppy from AHQ, but they do end up getting the inhibitor on the top side.
Yeah, this is actually pretty big.
I don't think it's sloppy. It's what a lot of teams at Worlds are doing right now. Basically, when they're in a huge advantage, they do the 4-1. And if you go for, you cannot go for 4 because you're so far behind, so you go for that 1 pick, and then you 100% lose the tower because you cannot wave clear. But you cannot even defend the tower because you actually have to go for that one because Jayce would get this tower in a matter of seconds too.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. All that flat AD coming in clutch.
It's so much. Also, turrets now are affected by armor penetration. So that was a change from a while ago.
And if we go back to the Luden Psycho point, there are just better items, which is basically Luden Psycho is really good first item and good second item. But for first two items, you actually want to go for either Protobelt Abyssal or Protobelt Zhonya's. And if you build Luden Psycho third item, it's already not that effective, and it's usually the power point where you need the Void Staff, because the enemies are getting Locket or some other sources of magic resistance, especially against Kennen, which means the Void Staff becomes super effective. And after the Void Staff, I mean Luden's, you'd rather get Rabadons.
Yeah.
just doesn't seem like the ideal item in the majority of situations. Maybe if you're ridiculously far ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like when you get a Luden's Echo, one of the best items to have alongside it is a Death Cap, and Kennen doesn't usually have space for both of those items without giving up some utility. And Kennen's like a utility, base damage, shredding CC top laner. So Luden's Echo,
just doesn't fit into this one.
Yeah.
I would rather get Rylai's instead of Luden's.
I love Rylai's personally, but
It's like, you usually don't get both in really seldom occasions. Like, for example, I don't know, Crown got it on Victor because he was super far ahead. So if you're like super far ahead and you can build anything, you can probably even build Infinity Edge. So I would have probably rated Ludens on that level.
Does have some AD scaling on that W for Kennen.
get a Lich Bane.
Crit him hard. Attack speed Kennen. 80 Kennen. Season 5 Worlds. We'll bring it back.
You actually do run a decent amount of attack speed in your runes as Kennen, just for the laning phase in the start of the game. People run anywhere from 2 to 3 attack speed quintessences, and then they usually run hybrid penetration or magic penetration depending on what you want. I've actually seen like 6 or 7 different Kennen pages. It's all based on what flavor you really want.
Interesting that you bring that up because we do have a question about runes and masteries coming in from @EpicFace. Bob, this one's about Jayce, not about Kennen, but he asks, since Tear the Goddess on Jayce is not built anymore, is mana regen or mana runes worth taking? I think we answered this a little bit earlier, but just to reiterate for Mr. Henry Robinson here.
Well, mana runes for sure not. For mana regen, I mean, you can probably put couple flat mana regen yellow runes if you want to. I don't think it's necessary. I think the masteries are usually fine. But I know AD carries were used to put mana regen in either like yellow or blue runes.
Yeah.
So I think you can do the same for Jayce if you really want to.
You put like 3 in your blues or something like that, because
Yeah.
I think that equates to 1 or so. I think each one's 0.33.
But of course, the one we mentioned too is the utility tree talking about the
Meditation. Yeah.
Oh,
You definitely take that. Yeah, because you go down the middle of it, you don't go for Fervor or anything, so you go for Thunderlords or Storm Raiders. And then you go for the right tree for Resolve because you want the Summoner spell cooldown for your teleport.
Meditation is in the second one where the Storm Raiders is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You get it on the way down.
Usually people... Actually, this is a good question. I'm not sure. I think people usually go for 12-18-0 because everyone values the damage more, at least in the mid lane. I'm not sure about top lane. I think they still go 12-18-0 over 0-18-12.
In top lane, I saw a few people in this tournament already go 0-18-12 just because they wanted Insight, which gives them that Summoner spell cooldown because they have to match teleports. Who did it? I think Expect did it on G2.
Well, iNTZ may not have been expecting that, but they are starting to turn the fight around. Yang does manage that, but he does not have ult, and he is far too low. Does get popped.
Yeah, a lot of people, like, some people will go for it because it's also on top of your Ionian Boots of Lucidity, but I totally get it because, like, it's either way. Most will probably go 12-18-0, but I've seen people go back and forth on it.
So we can see here Revolta getting really good ults on Lee Sin, but I feel like iNTZ, they had that opportunity when Kennen hit the level 11, even though they were far behind, but they wanted to try and stall the game out. And as we can see, it's like pretty impossible against the comp that AHQ is running. And I think they should have tried and should have like go for it. And if they lose the team fight, they lose the game faster, okay? But I mean, I think here it matters if you can try to turn it back around instead of like just bleeding out and losing it. I would, with their comp, I would rather go to either like you try and turn it around or lose fast than like just getting basically poked out and then killed.
Yang right there was just trying to avoid getting ultied from westdoor. Still happens anyway and gets taken out before he does anything there. I think there was an opportunity for him to kind of R flash in. I actually think R flash is really good. You should cast your R right before you flash because you can cancel the 0.25 second animation of it. Otherwise, you're running and then you stop for a second, use your ultimate, and then keep running.
I'm still voting for trying to TP from behind because I don't think he used TP once.
I don't think so.
Unfortunate use of the spells, but you can see ZIV, I mean,
one time to get back after he died top, that's it.
ZIV and AHQ very clearly just insanely ahead for those of you wondering why we aren't talking as much about the on-screen action, focusing more on our viewer questions. Truth be told, at this point, we're waiting kind of for the miracle play from iNTZ because
I mean, we're just waiting till they try to pull the trigger because at this point, they're just like trying to stall the game out, and I don't think that's the way you play with the Kennen or just with the comp they got. They have Cassio, which is not the best wave clear. It's not Varus or something that can stall the game out super hard. And they have like Kennen, they have Bard, they have Ashe, they have a lot of engage tools, not that much wave clear. I mean, if you pick that much engage, then even though you're behind, you play to your comp instead of like trying to stall out just because you're behind.
And of course, one of the big things here as well is that with the Bard engage, Alistar can't actually Unbreakable Will and look for the disengage option. In theory, you can get the perfect setup, but iNTZ just haven't been able to find it quite yet. Revolta, kind of the exception to that rule, has been consistently finding a way to flash pick people into the team, but the rest of the team kind of struggling.
Yeah, ZIV's played this really well. His pokes have actually been on point. He's hit micaO, the AD carry, quite frequently, and AD carries don't go for Bloodthirster early on anymore. They either are a Fervor AD carry or a Warlords. And I think Ashe actually falls into the Fervor category more often than not, unless you're going super safe build. You just wait.
Oh, nice sidestep from Yang. Jockster letting the minions know what's up, but at this stage of the game, ZIV just going to continue to push, continue to poke. There's that shot you were talking about. This is just an insane amount of damage.
Yeah, Jayce hurts. At this point of the game, with all the armor penetration he got, he penetrates like half of armor of Ashe, even without the Black Cleaver procs. And I mean, at this point, he probably didn't even need the Black Cleaver. It's like good cooldown reduction item, but it can go like Dust Blade instead for some like fancy plays where he just like one-shot someone with EQ and one auto.
Yeah. I wonder what he's going last. Maybe an Infinity Edge.
It's Last Whisper.
No.
No,
We're breaking the dreams.
that's boring. It's Death's Dance.
Yeah!
Death
Bring
Dance.
it back!
Varus built it. We have evidence. Evidence to support it.
50% cooldown reduction. Let's go.
Let's go. Yeah, instead of running penetration, he's actually running 5% more cooldown reduction for the cap, you know.
I like that they
Get to 55.
Nidalee went for that Vince, so she gets even more heals. So they are just like poke heal comp. She's like the Soraka of the jungle, just to heal out her teammates. Yeah, this is painful. This is just like, this is such a painful thing to watch when you're playing against the poke comp, you're behind and you're afraid to pull the trigger. Because you just like hope for some miracle stalling out that they will go for dive. I mean, why would they dive if they have Jayce and Nidalee?
Yeah. I think that's one of the issues that we've seen with Jayce is, I mean, he's so far 3-2 in the tournament, looking to make it 4-2 at this rate, and he's just taking his sweet time here.
micaO is just that magnet right now.
Oh, Revolta.
He tried to go for the play on the westdoor. Westdoor actually dodged it.
Unfortunately, it looks like the rest of the team just are not on the same page, and this is that moment you talked about earlier, Zyrene, where when the health bars are low, everyone just has to back off and concede these objectives.
Yeah, it's triple inhib, Baron up, AHQ. Yeah, it's kind of putting the finishing touches on the game right now.
Yeah. Good time to get into a question. We mentioned this one. We answered this one already, but at Ross in Inside says, so much poke. How can iNTZ deal with this? Should they engage first or wait for a mistake? We talked about this.
Yeah, they should engage first. Waiting for a mistake. I mean,
Yes.
I understand that a lot of teams did a lot of mistakes, but it's Worlds. You don't expect the teams to screw up, especially with like 5k lead or something. And I think AHQ showed that their methodical play is really good and they're decent at closing out the games. And as we can see, westdoor, maybe he's not the best laner, but out of lane, he does everything good.
Yeah, and this like right here, like Yang, he's not going to kill ZIV because he's so far behind, but...
Oh no. Line him up, knock him down.
But I think it's the difference that with that question of, are you waiting for an unforced error by the enemy team? Like, that's just not something you should do against world-class teams. But you should engage, and either the game ends and you lose faster, but you were going to lose anyway, or you try to make some forced errors. You try to make some plays, put the engage on, make them actually fear you a little bit, and I think that's just definitely the way to go because it's a proactive play.
Nice! All right, micaO preserves the KDA, but in the end, it's AHQ who are going to secure that win. That's funny that that was the most hype moment for us of the entire game. We thought he was dead.
Well, I'm like, he should have been dead. I'm pretty sure that spear was like...
Definitely connected.
Probably killed him, but 35 HP, the hacks.
I'm just upset with iNTZ never pulling out the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when it comes down to it, we talked about it for the entirety of the game. We talked about it in Champ Select. They have the setup. They need to make things happen. Unfortunately, there were some early fumbles on their gank attempts to try to snowball on the top side of the map, giving up, you know, so much there. But additionally, it just feels like they had the tools necessary to come back, but they were not confident in using them.
Yeah, I do think AHQ played it well, though. They went to the top lane. They went to the Kennen where they had a winning lane, camped the winning lane, get 3 kills, get that turret, ends up like with this Jayce being able to solo the Kennen out, and then by that virtue, able to just make the AD carry and mid laner's life of the enemy team an absolute nightmare. And it made it so that Yang never really wanted to engage until his team had set him up, but he's the one who needs to set up. We didn't see TP flanks. We didn't see any plays where he's at least attempting a flank.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the problem with the team not setting up for him, or he is afraid of himself going in because like he fell so far behind. Maybe he's tilted. Like we don't know what goes through the mind of
It's
the players.
speculation, yeah.
And I think we're like saying iNTZ not doing anything. We should have praised AHQ too for their like perfect play. They did everything like what they needed to do. Like they went top lane, then they went bot lane, and ZIV like fall back from the tower. He didn't die there. He like didn't give any additional gold. He got gold from the mid lane instead and protected the mid tower. Then like westdoor. No matter like how hard he loses lane, anytime he's always first for the roam. Like no matter how much, this is like what he's known for, and this is why I think Malzahar is a really good champion for him, because you still are super safe in lane. It's really hard to kill you 1v1. Okay, you will get CS advantage against Malzahar, but then eventually after level 6, he can make so many plays until enemies get QSS. And westdoor shows that 2 games in a row, he does it perfectly.
Yeah. I think that it's not a very flashy style, but AHQ did play it right, exactly like you said. Like they do deserve a lot of praise for the way that they played the game from start to finish.
I think it's completely correct. I think at the end of the day, we can harp on iNTZ for making those mistakes, but AHQ did so much and did so much so well. Another team, you know, I'm not going to say any other team, but other teams may have gotten aggressive. We have seen teams get over-eager with their poke comps to try to all-in and dive. We've seen games get turned around like that before, but AHQ, it's not always exciting to watch them bleed a team out, to slowly poke and whittle down an opposing team, but it is effective, and they pretty much guaranteed themselves the win by playing intelligently.
I think a good game to watch to contrast this one is the 70-minute game of Flash Wolves versus Cloud9. To contrast like I know. But
there's an entire middle part you can probably
skip ahead. No.
Yeah.
But I actually think that middle part is very important because that's where AHQ did not drop the ball, whereas Flash Wolves did drop the ball, and they actually just kept allowing Cloud9 back into it. And Cloud9 didn't have as many engage tools as we saw iNTZ there have. So iNTZ, with a lot of engage, didn't pull the trigger, whereas in Cloud9, it's like they were waiting for the Lee Sin to get a kick, and they had to wait 70 minutes for it.
But they got it.
But eventually it happens, right? But that's the thing, is they gave so much time, so many flash cooldowns to actually give micaO the chance to do that, and you shouldn't be able to do that as a engage composition. You should, as a poke comp with the advantage, be able to close it out the way the AHQ did with just kind of get 3 inhibitors, pressure, get objectives, put pressure on that.
About Cloud9 game, even though I question micaO's Lee Sin as everyone else, I think he did really good like decision making and job in the game. When they were far behind, when their inhibitors were down, and when the poke comp were going, he was always trying to look for the flank from behind, which Lee Sin should do. And this is what I expected from Yang to do. No matter you're Kennen, no matter you're squishing, no matter you're like so far behind, you're losing, like you won't do anything from the front, especially against Alistar at Jayce. Like we could see whenever he goes in, he gets headbutted, exhausted. He doesn't have any surprise factor there because they always see you. Like you just get Malzahar ulted, you get EQ'd, and you're basically the only engager of a team, except maybe Bard ultimate. But Bard ultimate, even if it sets you up, it will still give the time for enemies to react, and they can spread out a lot, which they did because they're ahead. Which means like it should be Kennen who goes from behind, and like then you at least scare the enemies, then they need to think, and then you can force an error from the enemy, which C9 basically eventually did, even though they were stalling out the game for like, this is how you stall the game. You basically force errors from enemies rather than wait they will do errors themselves.
Yeah, agree completely. Of course, that is the final game for iNTZ and AHQ for this week. They will have time to reevaluate. AHQ can feel pretty happy. iNTZ may need to rethink how they're closing out those games, the confidence of their individual players, but that's going to be it for our discussion on the top lane matchup here. Coming up next on the Player Exchange stream, we'll have Kiwi Kid here for Focus on the bottom lane, and we'll track the 80 carries as Deft and EDG take on Forgiven and H2K. For now, though, let's send it to the mainstream for an interview with AHQ ZIV, and we'll be back here for Game 2.